to the court. The championship trophy is in Boston as the series shifts back to TD Garden with a chance for the visiting Warriors to clinch their 4th championship in 8 years. Dubs split the first 2 games at a pretty hostile TD Garden, and Steph Curry has not forgotten how the fans treated them there. Listen in.
I'm the petty king, so I know all about everything, and I use it as entertainment and just have fun with it, because the more you're on the stage, the more you realize the attention that's on you, how much it means to each fan base, how much it means to the cities. There's a lot at stake when it comes to winning championships.
Great being back home. You know, it's the last home game of the season. Looking forward to being in front of the crowd, you know, knowing that they're going to be behind us and giving us that extra boost of energy, as they have my whole career. You know, it's going to be extremely loud in here, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great atmosphere.
It is very hard to close out a series, and this is a very good team, and we know they're going to play with a sense of desperation. So for us to match that or exceed that, it's going to take the most effort we've had to give all year.
All the motivation in the world. Game 6 on our home floor in front of our fans. Last game in TD Garden. Nothing more needs to be said.
Oh, the Petty Kings, a man after my own heart. Let's now bring in our reporters, Brian Windhorst, Kendra Andrews from Boston. I'll start with you, Wendy. What are the Celtics focusing on with this elimination game?
Well, they've got their backs against the wall, and their message to each other at their meeting before practice today was back off the officiating. Team-wide, they feel like they've been focusing too much on the officiating. That includes head coach Ime Udoka, who got teed up during Game 5. They feel it's led to distraction at the offensive end of the court, which is really where they're losing this series, in their opinion. It's part of an overall issue at the offensive end where they're losing focus. They're dribbling into crowds. They've got poor spacing. They're making poor decisions with passes. It's leading to turnovers that are undercutting them. And so that's a big thing that they're focusing on as they get into an elimination Game 6. Back off the officials, focus on your own business.
Again, the good news, though, when it comes to these Celtics is they have really, really excelled, right, with their backs against the wall. They're 3-0 alone in elimination games this postseason. On the other side, Kendra, there was a lot of talk earlier in this series about Game 6 Klay after he was struggling early on in this series. So, Kendra, what is Klay saying about trying to replicate his Game 6 success once again?
Yeah, well, Klay is fully aware that he is a little streak going with Game 6, and he doesn't know how long that's going to last, but he hopes at least until tomorrow. But he says he's not going to do anything special to try and manifest a big performance. He said instead it's just about going out there, having fun, and trusting his teammates. You know, the Warriors say we don't know what it is about Klay and Game 6s, but Stephen Curry said no moment is too big for him when it comes to hooping, whether that's welcoming in a hostile crowd, feeding off of a home one. And Steph said, I may be trying to bounce back from my poor shooting night, but I promise I will not do anything to infringe on the Game 6 Klay namesake. But Klay might not mind that. He said, one thing I will not do is go play hero ball. Winning is the most important thing. We saw that conversation with Malika Andrews before Game 5. We just talked about letting the game come to him. It certainly came to him in his only Game 6 of the postseason. He had 8 3-pointers, putting up 30 to help close out the Grizzlies.
He's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we give the people? The people will get Game 6 tomorrow night. Will they get a Game 7? We will find out. But the Warriors are looking for Steph Curry to, actually hit a 3-point shot in Game 6. And here's what head coach Steve Kerr had to say about Steph's performance. Look.
They're a great defensive team. I thought they put more pressure on him early in pick and roll. And then, Steph missed some open ones too. And so it's always a combination. But even for the best shooter in the world, games like this happen. And fortunately, they don't happen too often. And, I like Steph coming off of a game like this too.
He said a few things that I find really interesting, Mr. Rose. Number one, the Celtics did put a lot of pressure on Steph early, trying to take the ball out of his hands and face guarding him. And he also said that he did miss some open ones, which also happened. But finally, he said, I like Steph going into Game 6. Will Steph explode in Game 6?
Nights like this, I wish raindrops would fall. That's what I think about Steph in Game 6. I guarantee you, he's going to go for kill shots. I was there when Mike Tyson fought Peter McNeely. As soon as he got up off of the bench, he ran right towards him and charged him, and got it over quick. Steph Curry was 0 for 9 from three-point range the entire game last Game 5. I guarantee you he attempts 9 threes in the first half this game. He's going to be going for kill shots. And between him and Game 6 Clay, don't they have a nickname called the Splash Brothers?
Yes, they do.
Like, didn't Clay say he's enthusiastic? He's so excited, and he just can't hide it to go to Boston, right?
He did say that.
He's really excited to go to Boston. I expect Steph to be uber aggressive, going for the kill. And here's the thing I want to also point out. While we're talking about legacy for the Golden State Warriors as a team, as a trio, Steph ascending all time, don't forget to acknowledge Steve Kerr. The man only has 5 championships as a player, currently has 3 as a coach. This would be 4. He's moving into like elite company as it relates to not only coaches, but players and player coaches. And so this Golden State Warrior team is 48 minutes away from doing all of those special things. But the Boston Celtics are going to be game. And Steph went off on them in the previous game at Boston. 43 points, 10 boards, 7 three-pointers made. I think defensively, they're going to try to be up for the challenge.
Jason Tatum has been baffling this postseason. I mean, remember Game 6 against Milwaukee? I think he had 46 points and single-handedly got them the win and kept them in that series. But he's been up and down, especially in these finals. A lot of turnovers, shooting better from 3 than from 2. Seems like the Celtics not letting him finish around the rim, the Warriors not letting him finish around the rim. Will Jason Tatum sort of have a superstar game that we all sort of expected from him in these finals in Game 6?
I think Game 6 is going to be probably the best game players perform at their apex. I believe Tatum and Brown play well. I think the Splash Brothers play well. And Jason Tatum knows what you know, Jacoby. Not only is he struggling from 2, he's struggling mightily from the restricted area. Missed layups, missed runners, missed floaters, like plays like that. Like
air
you gotta
balls,
gather
Jalen.
yourself, and you know I hate the air ball.
I know you hate air balls. Every time there's an air ball, I think about you.
And he shot a couple of them, dog.
In a row.
He ain't just shoot one. He shot a couple of them. I'm looking around like, seriously? Like you trying to put a hole in the floor? But in all honesty, you see Draymond Green doing this right here to Jason Tatum?
Yep.
Like the Boston Celtics have to have a different disposition in situations like that. And I believe they will on their home floor. They are 3-0 when they're facing elimination. I think the best players perform the best in the biggest game in Game 6.
That incident when Draymond and Gary Payton sort of followed Tatum to the bench, I was surprised that the Celtics didn't react with more vitriol. Like, remember Ime Udoka said, if I was in the game, I would get a double technical when it was talking about sort of Draymond Green's antics in Game 2. I'm surprised that you haven't seen more sort of physicality and chippiness from the Celtics. You might see that when they have their back against the wall in Game 6. But when you talk about the Warriors and you talk about Game 6, you have to talk about these 3 words. Game 6 Clay. We both picked the Warriors in 7, but Game 6 Clay might not even let the series get there. Are we going to see Game 6 Clay? Look at these numbers, Jalen. There's a reason he has the nickname.
All I know is the fake Clay don't even look like the real Clay. He a Hall of Fame player. He a Hall of Fame player, been there his whole career, and he still got somebody that's dressing up like him getting past security. And the reason why I bring that up is there's a gift to being Game 6 Clay, because those have been the moments where his team needed him the most. Oklahoma City, for example, when they shot down KD and Russell Westbrook. But there's 7 games to a series. And I saw him do an interview recently, and there is a lot of pressure when people are calling you Game 6 Clay, when There's 6 other games to possibly be played, but uniquely for him, that this is a closeout game. So I anticipate also, he and Steph, you know how when the Warriors are in their half-court offense, sometimes, and rightfully so, because you're playing the percentages. Draymond Green and Gary Payton II and Looney, like, they're not looking to shoot. Like, I remember playing with Mark Jackson as he got advanced in his career. And we used to throw it to him on the post, just before you could have the 5-second rule and he could back down. Him and Charles Barkley was doing it. And we used to die laughing when teams used to just collapse down and double and triple team him and then kick it out to Reggie and me for an open shot. Like, we be like, serious?
You know he's not going to shoot, right?
Right. Like that's literally what the Warriors be doing when they throw it to Draymond Green on the post, do a scissor cuts, do all kinds of action to get Steph and Clay shots. So yes, I think we're gonna see Game 6, Clay, but will it be enough? Because the Boston Celtics are gonna be ready, Jacoby.
So I want to talk to you about Draymond Green, who you just mentioned. It seems like every time he touches the ball, the last thing he wants to do is shoot it. He makes such an impact defensively. He's such a great playmaker, but it seems like he just doesn't want to shoot. He had a pretty good Game 5, and here's what he said about his Game 5 bouncing back a little bit and what he thinks about Game 6.